Hey Google, stop. Hello everyone and welcome to the Academic Alehouse. I am your host, Clayton. I am joined not by my usual co-host Ryan, but by Caesar himself, who, if you will remember, joined me on Monday for a glimpse at the new Star Wars movie. Yeah, I do hope y'all check out that video. It does feature some other guests, but I think we did a pretty decent job. I know there hasn't been an episode for 3 weeks, I think. Two
Wah,
weeks.
wah.
How long?
No, I just said womp womp.
Oh. Yeah, 2 weeks. I do apologize for that. I had it's the holidays and family sort of caught up with me a little bit more than I care to admit. On top of that,
How dare you prioritize your family over like the three people who watch our show?
fair enough. On top of that, Ryan had his own stuff to deal with, and he doesn't know how to work the incredibly complex machinery that I run to make this podcast happen.
Yes, he's physically close to our age, but he's like mentally boomer age.
Fair enough. Anyway, so I hope y'all can forgive me for that. Other than that, we will be back on a normal schedule from here on out. Every Saturday we will be live for the audio listeners. It, the for the audio listeners on Spotify and Anchor and all that. We will be going. This audio will be uploaded Monday. Anything else? No. Okay. Unless you have anything, Caesar.
Nope, I got nothing.
All right. So over the holidays, a lot of stuff happened, so we're gonna have to catch up. So we're gonna have to play catch up. But
Yay.
there were several things that mm, basically boiled down. The news boiled down to two topics really. Trump got impeached in the House, and the Boogaloo is about to go down in Virginia.
Okay.
In other news, Cardi B apparently gave an interview. I only do this because it was hilarious when I found out. Cardi B gave an interview to like Vogue or GQ or something, and they asked her what her guilty pleasure was. She said, "Sniffing my own farts."
Lovely. Is she from San Francisco?
I don't know. I know she
Uh,
wasn't like an Instagram personality, and then she got a record deal, and she's bad. She can't sing. She can't rap really. She's just loud.
yeah.
She's gotten success over being loud.
What are you saying? Because she's a woman, she can't sing? How dare you? I'm gonna write
Um,
about this on Twitter and defame you.
yes, Cardi B's just is really just loud to me. I don't see any talent or anything there.
I've never even listened to any of her songs.
She's cameoed on a few artists' albums. She's guest rapped on a few things, but so the she said in their interview her guilty pleasure was smelling her own farts. But Vogue or GQ or whatever this magazine was censored the word fart.
Really? What did they put?
No, they just censored it. Like it was like F asterisk asterisk asterisk.
Are you sure it didn't say I smell my own fuck?
Uh, it might have, but I doubt it, considering like I doubt it. Yeah, I just doubt it.
Or maybe did feet become a swear word? I know some people have that as a fetish.
I don't know, uh, but here's my theory. This was not Vogue's orgy, or this was not the magazine that published this interview's decision. This was the this was Cardi B's PR team, because you know she has a PR team by now. Going in and saying, going in through the interview and saying, no, you can't have that word there because it makes our client look like she's a raving lunatic or an idiot or gross. It hurts her image basically, so they wouldn't let it pass. On other news, uh, Greta Thunderthighs was named Person of the Year.
Oh, lovely.
You know, despite the what's the guy? What's Team Trees? The guy that started Team Trees.
Um, I'm not sure.
There was some YouTuber that like basically planted 20 million trees with a bunch of people's support.
Hmm.
Or
Yeah, I think I might have heard about that. I think
and
I.
this dude didn't win Time Person of the Year, but Greta Thunderthighs is who, by her own admission, she admitted this. It was in a Guardian article. By her own admission, has accomplished nothing.
Hmm.
I know, right?
Are you sure? I mean, she did skip school to help save the environment
Yeah, she
somehow.
did. But by her own admission, she has accomplished nothing.
So yeah, she's now we can call her British female David Hogg.
True enough.
I will skip school until I get my cause until I fight my cause, but I'm not actually getting anything accomplished. I'm just saying things that make people feel good.
Yep.
Yeah, all right. Anything else?
No.
Well, there was a J.K. Rowling.
Oh yeah, J.K. Rowling's now a transphobe. I forgot about that.
Yeah, no, she's a turf.
I mean, they're basically the same thing.
Yeah. Remember, people pandering to far lefties will not get you anywhere. These people are not your friends. They will turn on you if you slip up. If you say anything that goes against their dogma, that's it for you.
It's like being a gibbering mouth, basically. You must continually consume one another in order to prove that you are the best person.
Yeah, though one can't deny the parallels between Harry Potter goblins and real life Jews. They're a bunch of elderly people with big noses who love gold and work as bankers.
In fairness, that's a movie interpretation. That the goblins are described like more elven in appearance. They do have the crooked nose, but it's
So
more
they look
described as like the classic witch's nose instead of
okay.
a very
Yeah.
Jewish kind of thing. And they take more from dwarves in fantasy. In all honesty,
Mhm.
the fascination for gold and mining, uh, the creation of weapons that can't be tainted by blood or anything like that. That J.K.
Oh,
Rowling's goblins might as well be dwarves in any other in
yeah.
any other
I forgot.
fantasy series. They would be dwarves.
Yeah, yeah, I forgot about that. The Sword of Gryffindor was made by goblins.
Yeah,
I guess they couldn't incorporate dwarves.
I,
Look too much like regular human dwarves.
I guess I don't know.
He just like Harry's walking down the streets of London, just sees a guy who's like 3 feet, and he's like, "Hey, it's a dwarf. What are you doing here?" It's like, "Bitch, the fuck you just call me? I am a little person. Thank you very much."
Yep.
So yeah, all right. So on to the main topic, I guess.
The Boogaloo rises. Yes. You will have to forgive the unfortunate pun at the as the episode title, but it is fun. It's just fun for me. So, in local news, the cenotaph of the Alamo is planning to be removed, and people are upset about that.
Why would you be upset about something that symbolizes the history of your entire state, as well as one of the biggest tourist spots in all of San Antonio?
I do not know. Apparently, the city of San Antonio has basically said we need to move this monument because we need to we I'm reading the article now because this was Ryan's story actually.
Mm, yep,
I'm
yep. Maybe
guessing
pop it up on the
that
screen.
because you have to remember that actually that's a good idea. Hold on.
So, how was Christmas for you?
It was good. It really was good.
Get anything cool?
I got a Nintendo Switch. So
Oh,
now
sweet.
I'm playing Fire Emblem Three Houses.
Ah, cool. I also got that. Oh, got Fire Emblem, Link's Awakening, and Goku socks.
All right. So basically, the marble monument to a was moving is moving to about 500 feet south. Both to the south as an affront to the text to those who fought. Uh, wow. So this is basically over nothing just from the look of it. But I'm sure someone somewhere has called them racist. Yeah, that's what.
So, so is this would it be farther or closer from where the original Alamo was?
Probably further because the Alamo itself hasn't moved as far as I'm aware.
Okay, so where the current one is where the actual battle took place.
The area, yeah. But
Oh,
yeah,
this is fun.
there were people very, very upset about that. So the booging may have begun last night. I don't think so, since I'm still streaming and Ryan hasn't gone off and taken his go bag and gone. But yeah, the booging I doubt has begun. However, there is a place in the United States where the boogaloo may begin, and this would be
Ooh,
Virginia. Now, if you
hey,
haven't been paying attention to Virginia, which I'm sure you, Caesar, haven't, as
no.
news tends to not interest you. So, around the time of Trump's impeachment in the House, Virginia was holding its election for its state house and state senate.
Okay.
Now, Bloomberg threw massive amounts of money into Virginia, along with the DNC, so they could win that House and Senate.
All right.
The moment that the House and Senate were won by the Democrats, the governor
All right.
basically came out and said, we are instilling new gun legislation as soon as the term begins. So they don't start till I think 2 or 3 weeks into January.
Oh boy.
They have already drafted most of the legislation that will pass. The Virginia governor is still the same guy, by the way. The same guy that got caught red-handed, like with yearbook photos and everything, with blackface. He's still in power, and the left refuses to crucify him.
Well, so did Justin Trudeau. I mean, he's still around. I think he did. Didn't he do blackface twice?
Yes,
Like, or one was blackface, one was brownface.
I I
Wh-
don't know.
When it, he looked like a. I think he dressed up like, what was it, Aladdin when he becomes a prince.
I think he might have. But either way, um, so Virginia, the Democratic House and Senate have passed, are going to pass these laws. The problem is, a lot of the counties and local governments, or like local governments for the counties, got a hold of these laws and saw what they were doing. Basically, it makes it extraordinarily difficult to buy a gun. Like UK kind of difficult. Like if you don't need a gun, you don't need. If you don't absolutely 100% need a gun, uh, you don't get a gun. Basically, New York is experiencing the same thing, but they're a bit more low key on it, and that goes to the Supreme Court during the summer. This is more interesting and more immediate because there are, in these laws there are no grandfather clauses. Now, if you don't know what a grandfather clause is, it's a clause that makes it so if it was illegal before, if you were basically if you were doing it before, uh, it's okay. So like
Okay,
with
so
cars that
if you had a
when
okay,
new
so if you had
emissions laws get passed for cars, they don't get they don't have to hold to the same specs as the new cars basically.
oh,
Like for safety and stuff. Like if they passed a law where um a car had to have a certain seatbelt configuration or something, they would have like they would grandfather in the laws they would grandfather in basically cars that were made before that point. So
so
without the
basic.
grandfather clauses, a lot of people in Virginia, and I mean the majority of the populace, would be considered felons under this law. Excuse me, under these laws.
Okay, so what you're saying is like with the grandfather clause, if people already had guns, they wouldn't be affected by these new laws. But
Correct.
since there isn't none now, they all have to I guess have to give up their guns.
Yes. Now, more and more people more and more count now, the moment this came out, of course, counties immediately said sheriff's departments immediately said uh you will we will not enforce this. Sheriff's offices around the state said, "Look, we're not going to enforce this. We have enough. We are not going to possibly enter a situation where our lives could be in danger for a law that we do not agree with and feel no need to enforce." Uh, then counties started getting local county governments. As soon as basically this started, held like emergency sessions and said, "We will not follow these laws. These laws will not affect you in any way. This is a Second Amendment sanctuary county. If you own guns here, they are safe. We will not come for them. We will not acknowledge these laws, and we don't intend to follow through with them."
Well, that's one way to completely undermine your governor.
Yeah, but there's a problem because
Yep.
the authoritarians in the left are not going to just sit back and, you know, let that stand because the left likes its power. Excuse me. The
They'll get
left likes its power.
yeah
So
they'll
they're going to So they came up with a compromise. Like, yeah, you can keep your guns, we won't come for them, but you have to register them. But the issue, that doesn't change the laws you're enforcing on them. And so this whole mess has been started because the left won't back down from this. They won't compromise on this. So pro gun groups, and multiple militias in multiple counties are preparing themselves for possible National Guard intervention.
Oh
Like there
boy.
was apparently rumors of the New Jersey governor calling the Virginia governor and saying, "Hey, if you want the National Guard, our National Guard will help you who enforce these laws." But on top of that, on top of that, the governor has basically said that in or that if the officers do not enforce these laws, they will be fired. He's going
Well,
the Virginia officer is going to pass a law. The Virginia governor and government are going to pass a law that basically say any serviceman, any government official that does not follow and enforce these laws will be deemed unfit for their duty. Hold on, let me find it because it's I'm making it sound less horrifying than it is.
well, at least we still have a West Virginia. We can always go back there. Always go over there.
Da, 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 da.
So, is Virginia typically a red state, or blue state, or a swing?
Virginia has been a Virginia in previous years has been a red state, but I think about 20 years ago, uh, about 20 years ago, it flipped blue, and despite most of the counties voting red, it still goes blue because Baltimore and Richmond are so populous.
So, what about West Virginia by comparison?
West Virginia's been red since the day it was created. Oh yeah. Okay, so this is it. The latest legislation pre-filed for the upcoming 2020 session is proof. Democrat Delegate Lee Carter of Manassas sponsors HB 67, which would apply to any law enforcement official, noting those who willfully refuse to perform the duties of his employment will be terminated and ineligible for future law enforcement employment for another year. So basically, they're saying our agenda matters more than your job. We will remove you if you don't follow it.
That doesn't sound fun at all.
This is a quote from an article on Law Enforcement Today, by the way. The bill was filed just after Governor Ralph Northam, who warned against the more than 100 counties and municipalities that have already adopted Second Amendment or constitutional sanctuary resolutions. Northam offered a veiled threat to any law enforcement agency that does not get on board. If we have constitutional laws on the books and law enforcement officers are not enforcing those laws on the books, then there are going to be consequences. But I'll cross that bridge if and when we get to it, Northam told reporters. This
Hey,
dude,
lovely.
uh, these Democrats um in Virginia have gone mad with power apparently. But I pose to you, my dear listeners, an alternate idea. And I floated this by my cousin, and he didn't believe it would go through. But I think it's more likely than he would be willing to admit. Bench warrants.
Yeah, have to elaborate on that.
Now, you don't know what a bench warrant is? Have you ever
Nope.
gotten a speeding ticket?
Yep.
Have you ever, or not a speeding ticket, a parking ticket?
Uh, actually, yeah.
Okay, have you ever not paid that parking ticket?
Nope. I've always paid it.
Yeah. So if you were to not pay that parking ticket, after a certain amount of time, the officers basically take it before a judge who you never see. They don't contact you. They don't have to contact you in any way. And this judge puts a warrant out for your arrest. Now, it's up to the officer whether they follow through on that warrant or not. And this was my cousin's point, and I agree. It is up to the officer. But here's the thing. If you're just driving through town, if you're just driving through town and a cop stops you, or even if you leave the state and a cop stops you, that warrant might pop up and you might be arrested. It's not a matter of, oh, these county police officers will not enforce this. It matters that will the state as a whole be a safe place for me to travel if I don't follow these gun laws? it it becomes basically either I'm a prisoner of my own county, because at least here I know that whatever warrant is on the judge has crossed a judge's desk and been rubber stamped that I'm guilty of not turning my guns in or not following these horrifying gun laws. By the way, they make it almost impossible to buy a gun. But further, basically anything can fall under these. They're very loose, they're very wide. They cast a wide as net as possible, so they can basically go, does it have it? I think one of them is if it has a magazine with more than 10 rounds. Like shotguns follow under these laws, AR-15s, like legal guns, perfectly legal guns in any other state that won't bother, they don't care, or will be passed without a thought. These are the things they're coming after, and now as a form of, as a handout, as a saying, hey, we're willing to compromise. We'll add in, or we'll drop some of the stuff if you register. And everybody's saying that's not how compromise works, and it's not. But back to the bench warrant thing, like it becomes a, okay, I know the officers in my county won't enforce this. I don't know about the officers in the next county. I don't know about the officers in two counties over where I have family. I don't know about the officers in uh, DC or Maryland or Pennsylvania or hell, New York. So it becomes an issue of, hey, I know in my county that I don't have to worry about an officer pulling me over and serving me this warrant because it's not, because it's for um, these gun laws that he doesn't believe in.
Yep. Oh, I'm glad I don't live over there.
Me
How long do
too,
you
but
think it'll take to?
there are people
How
who
long?
are very willing to fight for this.
Yeah, how long do you think it'll take till this starts affecting us?
In Texas,
Yeah.
most of the population of California would need to move over here.
I mean, I don't know. Wasn't the election between Beto and Cruz pretty close?
Closer than it should have been.
So that I think that is something we should start worrying about.
Maybe.
We'll just have to see.
Yeah,
We'll
I don't
just
think we
gotta
have
rem-
to worry too much about it in Texas. A lot of, like, Beto got major backlash for his anti gun statements. So I mentioned New York as well, and New York is interesting because this is a case that the Supreme Court is going to hear, and their judgment will come out this summer. So look forward to that. We might cover that if I remember it. But basically, New York is passing a gun law that says you can own a gun, sure, fine, but it has to stay at home,
Okay, so is this New York City or the entire state?
the entire state. Though, if I had to guess, probably New York City. Like, it cannot leave the premises of your home. And a bunch of sports shooters were like, "Hey, we need hey, what about us? We need to practice. We need you're basically telling us we cannot participate in our livelihood." To which the New York State said, "Okay, it can be in your car, but only from your home to the location you're at and back again. If it if you cannot stop for groceries, you can't stop for gas, that like it's there and back. No, nothing else.
So if you're driving with your gun and you're low on gas,
You're
what
fucked.
then?
Sucks to be you. You're breaking the law."
Yeah,
Funny thing
gotta push
about that is
that
we
push that truck.
New York cops won't have the same issue that the the New York government won't have the same issue that the Virginia government's having. But yeah. So,
But 2020 is looking to be a very interesting year. Can't wait to see the fire.
oh yeah. So we might as well
And
talk about the other big news topic, Trump's impeachment.
yeah, I haven't followed that overly closely either.
Well,
I've
I mean, Trump's impeachment was a dead story to begin with. The Democrats did it. Pelosi did it originally to hold it over his head so they could possibly win 2020. Then was basically forced to make it an official trial. Well, now they passed it with uh, Tulsi Gabbard, the mad lad she is, voting present, and a couple of the Democrats, I think, voting no. And then over impeachment, a Democrat from, oh, I can't remember. I can't remember where this Democrat's from, but I can't.
uh, if I remember correctly, they're all either from New York or California.
No, he's from a Trump supporting area, but he's decided to switch from the DNC to the GOP. He's going Republican, which
Okay.
might win him the next election. Who knows? He voted against impeachment as well. So the House passes impeachment, and now Pelosi is basically demanding that Mitch McConnell give her a fair trial for impeachment. She's withholding the articles of impeachment because uh politically she can wait and make herself look better in the short term, because she can accuse the Republicans of being super uber biased for Trump and not taking the trial seriously and such, letting a corrupt a corruption stand in the middle of the US government, stuff like that. In the long term, the damage has already been done. Pelosi is out as speaker. They will not win 2022. Nuh-uh. I would be shocked to see a Democrat majority in either the House or the Senate in 2022. Trump's got 2020. He's got 2020 sewn up as well, in my opinion. But impeachment's approval ratings have shot through the floor. Basically, nobody approves of it. Trump's approval rating has either matched or exceeded impeachment's disapproval. So that's all the impeachment news, I guess.
All right. Anything else?
Uh, Nothing that I can think of. So I figure since we're still here and we've got about a little over 25 minutes left, quarter of an hour, we could talk about a little deeper, more in depth on our opinions of The Last Jedi.
Last Jedi? You mean Rise of
Oh,
Skywalker?
Rise of Skywalker. Yeah.
Um, my opinion hasn't really changed very much. It's just, I'd say it's the best out of the sequel trilogy, but it's not saying much.
I agree, but I've been looking around and thinking about it. It doesn't seem to make it. It really is sort of a convoluted mess, isn't it?
It's very much so. The, yeah, so they never really explained how. So they never explained how Palpatine came back, though. That does kind of
Yeah.
that does.
All we got was spoilers by the way for the Rise of Skywalker. We will be probably spoiling something, whether
I
we
doubt they
intend to or
care.
not. He just turns around like Dr. Evil. He's like, the dark side is a pathway to many abilities some would consider unnatural. And behold, I am the Star Wars equivalent of a lich now. Well,
Oh
at
yeah,
least a canon version of Star Wars is equivalent of a lich. I think there's like 3 liches in Legends continuity. By the way, did you see that story I think a couple months ago where Kathleen Kennedy said, "Well, we don't have much to work with. There's not an expanded universe. We're stumbling in the dark."
I think I might have heard that.
Hey Kathleen, maybe you should talk to your Disney overlords and tell them make Star Wars canon again.
Yeah, well, that depends on what parts get canonized.
Fair enough.
Because I mean, obviously you can't really with Kylo Ren, you can't really introduce Han and Leia's children from the original canon.
That's true.
And
But I
let's
mean,
see
Han and
here.
Leia's son turns evil in both
Yeah,
canon and Legends.
yeah. So which one's the more interesting villain in the two families?
Legends. 100% Legends. He gets an entire book series to basically flesh out his character. Or he had somewhat, I'm pretty sure the author had a plan for how he wanted this character to go. And he didn't have another author come in the middle of the series and kill him unnecessarily.
Oh, so why did he turn evil in that version?
I actually haven't read those. I know he turned
Oh,
evil, and I know he like gathers a bunch of forces, and then his sister has to kill him at the very end. But I don't know why he turns evil. I forgot. If I knew, I've forgotten.
yeah. So and yeah, just I kind of like the idea of the Snoke clones, but they didn't go anywhere with that at all.
Yeah,
Just like
like, oh
I
my
think like
gosh, it.
yeah, I think like TV tropes would call that demoted to dragon, I believe.
I mean, if we're going to imply, first off, it was implied at least. I think if is the Force Unleashed canon or not canon? I can't remember.
Those are the video games, right? I don't
Yes.
think so. I don't think so.
All right. So
That was pro-
nobody has ever tried cloning a Jedi or successfully cloned a Jedi, as far as Star Wars canon is concerned, which would imply that there's something about their innate connection to the Force that doesn't track through cloning. I mean, I know it's been done in Legends
yeah.
more than
Um,
once.
I know the Thrawn trilogy had a like Thrawn has a Jedi clone that's his ally.
And there's the Luke Skywalker.
Oh, there's a Luke clone.
Yeah, there's a Luke clone. One like crazy mad Jedi or Sith or something makes a clone of Luke. But both, but like here, when Jedi get cloned, they're crazy. They go insane. So Snoke was a clone the whole time, a force sensitive clone.
Yeah, and
Something that in at least in canon has probably been proven to be at least not as viable as one would think.
but that's old canon at least.
Fair enough.
So
But I
yeah,
mean,
I do like the idea of the Snoke clones, and I think they could have worked around that to bring Snoke back. Like I was thinking, like perhaps all the Snoke clones share like a hive mind, and then in this movie, Kylo meets the original Snoke.
but then why didn't Palpatine, if Palpatine had the ability to clone and well, let's not call Snoke a clone because I don't think he was a clone. I think he was like a
Just genetically
genetically
engineered.
created life form
Hmm.
because it doesn't look like there's an original somewhere. It does not
And
look
yeah,
like there's an original Snoke. It looks like he was grown intentionally in a vat, which brings up
they all
a bigger
yeah
issue, but let's start with the idea that he's a clone. Okay, Palpatine knows how to successfully clone a force sensitive being. Why are the Inquisitors and like why is why does he need the Inquisitors? They could literally all be force clones, but they're all like they're unique beings. Their own unique beings. He could literally have an army of force sensitive spies, which is what he wanted in Clone Wars. He
yeah
kidnaps younglings in Clone Wars. There's an episode in Clone Wars. Actually, it's a like 3-part series where Palpatine has young Jedi younglings kidnapped so he can turn them to the dark side and make them force sensitive spies. He could have had this. The rebellion would have had no chance. So why did Palpatine not use this in the original trilogy?
yeah. And then when you think about it, you could probably mass produce Darth Vader clones,
Yeah, no kidding.
and then yeah,
You know, the
real
guy
quickly the
that's been in both canon and legends to be one of the best Jedi, not only Jedi killers, but um generals in the entire empire.
well, I guess when you think about it,
You
I've heard
didn't
that apparently in the new canon they've made it to where Palpatine is actually the one who created Anakin in the first place. Like
to,
he manipulated the midichlorians inside his mother,
oh my
like
god.
or something like that.
I have a question for you. You
What?
know the novel Plagueis?
It's on my bucket list of things to read slash listen to.
Is that still canon? Do you know?
I believe it's I. Oh, let's look it up. Darth
Because if
Plagueis.
that's canon, then Plagueis. Because if
Uh,
Plagueis is canon, I believe he mentions how about like Darth Bane or a couple of other Sith, which means Darth Bane is canon, which would be awesome for me.
it appear. Yep. It appear. Nope. It's Legends.
Oh dear. So I guess in movie 3 we're not. So I guess we're just not going to talk about the fact that Palpatine, epic badass that he was when he was alive, literally trained Darth Maul without Plagueis' knowledge. Um, Set himself up to be Supreme Chancellor, as was the Sith's goal. Waited for the perfect moment when his master was asleep and and shocked him to death, like right after he became Supreme Chancellor.
Oh, really? That it was that soon?
Yeah.
I always thought it was when Palpatine was younger.
Mm-mm. Nope. Palpatine still uh, is still in training. And here's the funny thing. Plagueis was skilled in the use of the Force. Like Palpatine knew. Oh, John, you're late.
Yeah.
John Rice says yellow,
Welcome,
but you're late,
welcome
John.
aboard. You're just in time to listen to us bitch about Star Wars.
Plagueis was powerful in the Force, and basically, Palpatine was like, Plagueis was powerful in the Force, but Plagueis basically said, "Nah, I don't want to master lightsaber combat because it's worthless. I have the Force." But that
Well,
didn't
I
mean
mean,
he was insufficient. It didn't mean he was insufficient at it. So Palpatine basically had to strike him down with the Force while he was asleep, because Palpatine knew otherwise, if he took him on in a direct fight, he would lose.
yeah. Also, so did you hear that apparently one of the comics retconned a lot of like what Palpatine did as a ruler. Like apparently there is this female officer that was I guess I guess the true I guess the true leader. I guess the more competent leader
Of
or some
course,
shit like that.
because remember, the Force is female.
Yeah, which really pisses me off because I'm not the hugest Star Wars fan, but I do think Palpatine is probably one of my favorite villains in all of fiction. I
Oh
just love
yeah.
how because I love in the Clone Wars he is the leader of two different warring factions. He's playing both sides to his own advantage. And once he's once he becomes emperor of the Republic, he then just completely gets Vader to dispose of all of his allies from the Trade Federation or
Yeah,
the
and what's really
Separatists.
funny is that people people don't understand, like, from what you see of the emperor in the movies, and that if that's all you're exposed to, he seems like a wimp
Yeah,
because
though to be fair, his death in Return of the Jedi does feel a little anticlimactic when you look at him in the prequels. Just gets picked up and thrown down.
yeah, but like even in the prequels, it's he looks like a bit of a wimp. But
Th-
this is a dude that, given time and enough given time, could destroy a planet with the Force. Straight up in Legends continuity, Palpatine had a technique called the like dark side storm or something, where he could literally destroy a planet with a Force. He didn't
well,
need the Death Star. He just needed the Force.
that
Like
seems a
that we're
yeah.
talking like that's how powerful this guy is.
Well, when you bring that into consideration, it makes his lightning powers in the new movie seem a little less silly.
Yeah, but that's Legends continuity.
Also in Legends, doesn't Palpatine also have like a clones of himself?
Uh, no, he comes back as a Force ghost.
Really?
Yeah, but those were already canon for the Sith. It was unheard of for a Jedi to maintain their personality outside the Force before Qui-Gon did it.
Yeah. Probably. I guess going on or adding on to Palpatine the prequels. So you've seen the original Clone Wars, the 2D one.
Yeah.
So there's a scene when General Grievous is trying to capture the Chancellor and all the jet and he has Jedi bodyguards trying to protect him.
Mhm.
I mean, there's a part. So in that series, they like made General Grievous super badass. He's like this unstoppable Jedi killer. So
Yeah.
there's this part where Grievous is just hacking the Jedi to death. Then you just see Palpatine he just slowly walks. He just kind of glares at Grievous and just
Oh
walks
yeah,
back.
like he
He knows.
smiles and walks back into the shadows with his hands templed. He's like, "Yes."
Yes, I like that because even since Grievous is so badass, even he's getting played by Palpatine.
All according to Keikaku.
Translators know that means plan. So yeah, uh, bringing back Palpatine still did kind of did kind of make the ending of Return of the Jedi feel a lot less climactic.
Oh, no.
The
No, no,
the
no, no, no,
the,
no. Let's
the
be
death and
real.
redemption
Return
of
of the
Anakin.
Jedi never happened.
Yeah, this is true.
With
Like,
the sequel trilogy, Return of the Jedi never happened. It
yeah,
never happened because Palpatine was like, "Oh, you've defeated me, but I'm back." Yes, he's like that ferret, I think, from Ice Age Worlds
oh,
Collide.
Scrat. You mean Scrat?
Yes. He's like,
The squirrel?
and they're like, "Did you die?" Unfortunately, yes. Oh, but I
Oh wait.
lived.
Oh, I know. Oh, I think his name was Buck. He
Yes.
was the
Like
weasel.
he's like, "Oh, they're like so sad he's dead, but he's standing right in front of them and he's like, "But I lived."
Yeah, her. I haven't seen that movie, but I've seen the Ice Age movies. I've only seen the first three.
Yeah.
Yeah, another franchise that just won't fucking die. But the, but now we're
Honestly
talking.
though, I like the one thing that Disney has done right with Star Wars is I watched a video of their lightsaber building thing like experience in Disneyland or Galaxy's Edge. It made me want to go do it. It made me want to go do it. So that's something positive for Disney.
Go build a lightsaber.
Yeah.
So would it be like one of those little plastic toy lightsabers with a little,
No,
little
it's a pretty decent size.
so does a little beam of light come out of it?
No, like just Google Galaxy's Edge building lightsaber. There should be a video of like travel bloggers building their own lightsaber. They look really really cool, and but apparently they're metal, like straight
Oh
up.
really?
Yeah,
Oh, that's neat.
it looks like a really really cool thing. But back to the movie. So are Corban and Drummond Koss not canon anymore?
I don't know who they are.
Corban and Drummond Koss, like the two Sith homelords.
Oh, I guess not. I was
Because
so
apparently we need a third Sith homeworld called Exegol, where apparently the Sith originated, or what is Exegol? Is it just where Palpatine appeared? Is that just where he ended up? Did he teleport himself through the Force?
I don't know. Apparently his looks like his he's missing some fingers and his eyes are all foggy, so I guess that is his original body somehow preserved.
I guess. Oh yeah.
Yeah, also remember so his plan was originally to get ready to kill him so he would merge his soul with hers. However, once shows up, he's like, "Oh, never mind. I don't need to do that at all. Never mind." Just pulls out their life force and becomes whole again.
Yeah, like instead of hey, but uh, question, At the
Mhm.
okay, if this is your plan to have someone succeed you, Kylo Ren shows up of his own volition without his armada, which makes no sense.
Well, his Armada are all bad guys. He just turned good.
Without his armada, and basically says, "I'm here to kill you." And Palpatine's like, "No, I can offer you power." It's like, but dude, you can you can
Oh, this was at the beginning of the movie, you meant?
yes, at the very beginning of the movie, Palpatine could have been just like, "Here, strike me down. Come, strike me down, and you shall gain all the powers of the Sith."
Yeah, but I guess he wanted to possess Rey because Rey was his from his bloodline, which
Imply,
they never
but
they never.
let's get down to that. By the way, the
Yeah, so,
Skywalker and Palpatine bloodlines. The implication here is that every Jedi, every single one, has culminated in the Skywalker bloodline. Like every single Jedi is of the Skywalker bloodline or has like contributed to the Skywalker bloodline somewhere along the way. And that's how Rey is now the most powerful thing ever and barely needs to train. Which, by the way, we see her doing once in the entire movie. Once. Which, whoop de fucking do, it's too late now, she's already a Mary Sue.
so I'm curious about her parents. Like, which one of them is the offspring of Palpatine?
That's a good question. That's a very
Like,
good question. Are we
yeah,
to assume that both were of the Palpatine household? And that Rey is somehow a product of incest?
um,
I mean, if literally only Rey would do because she has all the Sith, because Palpatine has all the Sith in him, which makes sense, by the way. Like he has all the knowledge and power of the dark side in in him because he's dead. He's about as connected to the dark side as one can get. Rey is still alive. And while at least as far as I'm concerned, there are Jedi that could connect very deeply to the living force, none that would literally tap into every single Jedi spirit ever. But like we said,
yeah,
this movie is very convoluted.
yeah. Sure, I was gonna say something. Okay, so how exactly does death work in Star Wars? If you're at least for Force users,
I don't know anymore.
how did it work in Legends?
In Legends, you died and became part of the living force. Now, if you were powerful enough or perform if you were powerful enough as a Jedi, you would be able to retain yourself, your personality, and your sentience within the Force and appear to guide people. In Now in the Sith case, you had to perform like dark rituals or be like you had to be super you had to be super powerful, but you also had to perform dark rituals in order to maintain yourself outside the Force. You basically had to be a powerful Sith sorcerer to do it.
Yeah, so Palpatine could do it, but Darth Maul wouldn't be able to.
Correct.
Oh yeah, so in Legends, does Darth Maul survive getting sliced in half like he does in the new canon?
I don't think so.
Yeah, he actually lasts a while. He actually lasts for a little while in the new canon. He was in Clone Wars. He actually shows up a little for a little bit and shows up in Rebels where he goes to Tatooine and has a little samurai duel with Obi-Wan and dies.
Hmm.
and
Yeah,
I guess
I don't think in Legends he survives that.
yeah. I mean, it's been a while since I've seen Darth Maul's return in Clone Wars. Did it ever explain how he's alive after being sliced in half and falling hundreds of feet?
Basically he tapped into the dark side and used his hatred to maintain himself.
Hmm.
In
Okay.
Legends, at least, it was something the dark side could do, so I'm not that upset about it. But I mean, Darth Maul's return was after Legends continuity was thrown out.
Actually, I think I think his return in Clone Wars was prior to the Disney buyout. So I'm not sure how
I think it
3D
happens
Clone
in
Wars
season
works.
3. I'm pretty sure season 3 happened after the Disney buyout.
Hmm.
But anyway, yeah, Maul comes back, which, by the way, he's apparently alive in Solo.
So I guess that predates his fighting Obi-Wan.
I
Um,
guess. Who
so yeah,
knows?
he shows up in Solo. It's like, hey, I'm gonna be in the next movie. But then he goes to Tatooine to fight Obi-Wan, and as he dies, he goes, well, shit, there goes my new toy deal.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, Star Wars canon is kind of all over the place.
Oh yeah, thanks to these new movies, absolutely.
I mean, to be fair, with canon was every single story canon to that
I
with
mean,
the
every
Ewok
single story
cartoon.
was technically considered canon, but there was a decent time. Like every book would start out with a timeline. Like this book takes place in this area in this time period. But yeah, I mean, honestly, if they'd kept stuff canon, I would have loved to see uh the Yuuzhan Vong War. That would have been interesting. There's so much untapped potential in that. Maybe someday someone will come along and say, "Look, those last 3 movies, they're not canon. We don't believe them. They never happened."
Yeah, but what are you gonna do with Mark Hamill and with this the remainder of the original trilogy?
Set it far enough in the future that nobody from the original trilogy would be around.
Yeah, I guess fair enough.
Like 30 years was too small a jump. 30 years was too small a jump. They should have done it like 70 or 80 years and had Mark
Yeah.
Hamill appear as a Force Ghost, has Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher appear as Force Ghosts, maybe even Han Solo, and then had like a film where the 3 of them do something. Like set a film of the 3 of them coming together and doing something on their own. Like set in between the new trilogy and the old.
The one thing that got completely underutilized was the Knights of Ren. Because okay, in the Knights, I mean, in the
No, they
like the last,
appear
yeah,
for
but they,
I think they have a combined total 8 minutes of screen time.
yeah, but I
Their
mean,
their
but they were.
longest time on screen is the fight scene they have.
Yeah, okay. So I remember when we saw The Last Jedi before I found out that they were not planning any of this shit out. I thought what was happening was that Luke had said that some of his students went to go or went left with Ben Solo to go join Snoke. So I was thinking those other Padawans were the Knights of Ren, but I guess this movie shows nope, they're just a bunch of schmucks with medieval weapons.
Oh yeah, Disney has rewritten the canon of lightsabers.
Lightsabers.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think I've heard about that. Like now, Sith lightsabers are actually stolen from Jedi, and they just like transfer their hatred into it.
Not only that, but The Jedi and Sith conflict with doesn't originate as it did in canon in Legends. It's basically the Sith came first and fired a massive energy weapon that scared the Jedi, and so the Jedi and Sith went to war, and a Sith created the first lightsaber.
Oh,
Instead of,
interesting.
the more logical thing that Legends did, which was, yeah, the Jedi and the Sith had a schism like thousands and thousands of years ago, way before even like any game or book is set, and it was a war where people were still using swords, like where
S-
like uh lightsabers basically evolved from swords. Like
From a
swords
saber.
adopted new technology, and their connection to the force allowed them to imbue their blades with the force and make them more sharper and more lethal. And the advancement of new technology, he basically forced them to create like newer and newer swords. So you have the basically the evolution of the lightsaber. The lightsaber didn't just appear one day; it evolved over the course of thousands of years with newer technology. Even one of the most famous Legend Sith lords, Naga Sadao, he didn't use um he didn't use a lightsaber. He used a force saber, which was a blade imbued with dark ritual magic and the force to make it on par with a lightsaber. But he represented a transitional period between lightsabers and swords. It feels more natural in Legends continuity, in my opinion.
So I guess speaking of Disney purging the old canon, is there any certain aspects that you are glad that got purged?
No, no, I'm not. I mean,
Really?
I've read one of the new books. One. Phasma. I do recommend it because it's a good book, but other than that, like, no. I wish 100% Disney had kept the canon, kept the expanded universe, and just ignored it. Because nobody would have
Yeah.
cared. Nobody would have cared.
Yeah, but then what? I guess. But then I guess that would limit creativity. Like you can, would you be able to incorporate the children
It,
of Luke or Leia?
I mean, here's the thing. It's it's like the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Okay.
Iron Man has been written in so many different variations. His character stays relatively the same, but he's had so many variations over the years, even animated ones, that it might as well just be ignored for the sake of the movie. That's my thinking. Like, hey, these are two separate characters. Yes, they have the same name. That's it. But I don't know.
So, or how does that relate to the new Star Wars canon?
The new Star Wars canon is just them saying, we don't want to deal with people's criticizing us saying like, oh, why didn't you do this story, or why didn't you adapt this blah blah blah, instead of saying, hey, we're doing our own thing, the expanded universe is fine, y'all can have it. It's just it's not going to be within the new Star Wars. Because there are Star Wars, there's stuff from the old Legends continuity that either doesn't make sense, doesn't fit in with like established timelines.
Okay. So
There's
what I guess okay, so what you're trying to say is they can still have a new canon, just don't consider the old one non-canon.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's pretty much my thought process too. Like instead of calling it legends, I'd say something like old canon or something. Still say it's canon,
Yeah.
but these two events are happening in two different universes.
Yeah. But all
So
right.
like,
I think we're almost done here.
all right. I think we talked about Star Wars more than we did about Virginia and guns.
Well, you didn't know much about it to begin with, so it's
No.
kind of just me ranting at the beginning, really.
Hmm.
So yeah, thank you, John, for and whoever else for joining us on this episode of the Academic Alehouse. Remember, or audio for my audio listeners, we will be going live. We do go live every Saturday at 9 p.m.
Yes, be
So
sure to
come hang out with us. Type in chat. We do see your messages and we do respond, and then we enjoy having hearing from you. Oh,
yes, and be sure to
if you
also
do,
follow us on. Yeah, don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Twitter.
yeah,
What else are we on?
we are on the gram. We're on
Uh,
Instagram. Uh, with COPA coming through and YouTube's new terms of service and shit like that, I have started us on a BitChute.
Ooh,
There is going to be some time. It's going to be a little bit of time before I can get the backlog on there, but any new videos will be uploaded there. So if you're on BitChute, subscribe to us on BitChute and like our videos, and leave a like and subscribe here on YouTube as well. Well, and if you're an audio only listener, make sure you follow us on Spotify. Our audio will be uploaded every Monday, but I do recommend you come and hang out with us live on Saturday. It's a lot more fun, and and I do see enjoy interacting with people that type type to chat type in chat for me, like John Rice.
eh. Yeah, and also make sure you're clicking on that bell on the in case you're not getting notifications from us.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining me, Caesar. You have a nice night.
Yep, you do. Take care.